You think you know what nuclear fallout is. You think you know how to survive it. Maybe you've watched the documentaries, read the prepper blogs, even stockpiled a few Geiger counters and a year's worth of canned beans. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of what you've been told about nuclear fallout is either outdated, dangerously oversimplified, or just plain wrong. And in a real nuclear event, those mistakes could be the difference between life and a slow, invisible death. So let's rip the bandage off. Let's talk about the critical truths, the ones nobody wants to say out loud, about what really happens when the world goes radioactive, and what you actually need to do to survive. First, let's kill the Hollywood myth right now. Fallout isn't some glowing green mist that creeps through the streets like a cartoon villain. It's not a cloud you can outrun or a poison that only hits the unlucky. Fallout is dust. It's ash. It's the pulverized remains of buildings, soil, and people sucked up into the sky by the mushroom cloud, then spat back down to Earth, carrying with it a deadly cargo of radioactive isotopes. It's invisible, tasteless, and absolutely everywhere the wind decides to take it. And here's the kicker. The most dangerous fallout doesn't drift for weeks. It comes down fast, within minutes to hours, right where the bomb went off, and in a long, deadly plume downwind. If you're in that path, you don't have days to get to safety. You have minutes, maybe an hour if you're lucky. This is where most preppers get it wrong. They imagine they'll have time to grab their bug-out bag, load up the truck, and head for the hills. But the science says otherwise. The first and most critical survival insight is this. When the bomb goes off, your best chance isn't to run. It's to get inside, get deep, and stay put. Radiation from fallout is at its most lethal in the first few hours after detonation. The particles are still hot, spewing out gamma rays and beta particles at a rate that can kill you in minutes if you're exposed. But, and this is the part nobody tells you, radioactive decay is relentless. The danger drops off fast. In fact, there's a rule, known as the 7-10 rule, that every serious survivor should tattoo on their brain. For every 7-fold increase in time after the blast, the radiation drops by a factor of 10. So after 7 hours, the radiation is about 1/10 as strong as it was at 1 hour. After 49 hours, just over 2 days, it's about 1/100th. That's why the first 48 hours are the most critical. If you can shelter in place, behind as much dense material as possible, concrete, earth, even books or water, you can survive the worst of it. This isn't just theory. It's physics, and it's been proven in the aftermath of Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Chernobyl, and every nuclear test since. But let's talk about shelter, because this is where the next big mistake happens. Too many preppers think a basement is a magic shield, or that a tent in the woods is safer than a city apartment. The truth is, not all shelters are created equal. What matters isn't just being underground. It's what's between you and the fallout. Radiation is like a hailstorm of invisible bullets. The more mass you put between yourself and the outside, the more of those bullets get stopped. Concrete is great. Packed earth is even better. Lead is fantastic. But who has a lead-lined bunker? Most people don't. But here's a secret. Even everyday materials can save your life. A single foot of packed earth cuts gamma radiation by about half. 2 feet, and you're down to 1/4. Stack up books, fill your bathtub with water, pile up furniture against the walls. Every bit helps. The goal is to put as much stuff as possible between you and the fallout outside. If you're in a house with a basement, get to the center, away from windows and doors, and start stacking. If you're in an apartment, go to the lowest floor you can, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and improvise. This isn't about perfection, it's about survival. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Air. People worry about breathing in radiation, as if the air itself is toxic. The truth is, the real danger isn't the air, it's the particles. Fallout dust can get into your lungs, yes, and that's bad. But the bigger threat is external exposure, gamma rays blasting through your body from the outside. That's why shelter is so critical. But if you have to go outside, maybe to fetch water or help someone, cover your mouth and nose with a damp cloth, wear as much clothing as possible, and get back inside fast. When you return, strip off your outer clothes and seal them in a plastic bag. Shower if you can, or at least wipe down with wet cloths. This isn't just hygiene, it's decontamination. Fallout dust is sticky, and it clings to skin, hair, and clothing. The faster you get it off, the less radiation dose you'll absorb. This section is based on practical field survival experience rather than formal academic sources. Let's talk about water, because this is where panic sets in. People imagine the water supply will be poisoned forever, that every drop is a death sentence. The reality is more nuanced. Fallout particles can contaminate open water, lakes, rivers, even rain barrels. But the radiation doesn't infect the water itself. It's the particles that are dangerous, not the H2O. If you can filter out the dust using coffee filters, cloth, or even letting the water sit so the particles settle to the bottom, you can dramatically reduce the risk. Boiling won't help with radiation, but it will kill bacteria. If you have access to bottled water or sealed containers, use those first. If you must use questionable water, filter it as best you can and avoid disturbing the sediment. And remember, dehydration will kill you faster than radiation in most scenarios. Don't let fear keep you from drinking when you need to. Food is another source of confusion. People worry about radioactive food, as if every can in the pantry is now a glowing hazard. The truth is, sealed food, cans, jars, even plastic-wrapped items are safe as long as the packaging isn't compromised. Wipe them down before opening, and you're good. Fresh produce, on the other hand, can be contaminated if it's been exposed to fallout dust. Peel it, wash it thoroughly, or avoid it if you can. The real danger comes from eating or inhaling fallout particles, not from some magical transformation of the food itself. Again, this is about practical risk management, not paranoia. Now, let's talk about time. This is the survival factor most people underestimate. The urge to get out is strong, especially if you're worried about loved ones or if the world outside is burning. But the science is clear. The longer you wait, the safer it gets. That 7-10 rule isn't just a number. It's your lifeline. If you can stay sheltered for 48 hours, your odds of surviving the worst radiation go up exponentially. After that, you can start to think about moving, but only if you have to. If you're in a fallout zone and you have a safe route out, wait as long as you can before making a move. Every hour you wait, the danger drops. This is a hard truth, but it's one that could save your life. Let's address another myth, the idea that nuclear fallout is a permanent apocalyptic curse. The reality is, most fallout loses its lethality within days to weeks. Yes, some isotopes, like cesium-137 and strontium-90, stick around for decades. But the most dangerous stuff, the stuff that can kill you in hours, decays rapidly. The world won't be safe overnight, but it won't be a radioactive wasteland forever. The real danger is in the first few days. Survive that, and your odds improve dramatically. But what about the psychological fallout? This is the part nobody prepares for. The fear, the isolation, the gnawing uncertainty. Radiation is invisible, silent, and merciless. It's easy to let paranoia take over, to imagine every cough is the beginning of the end. But here's the truth. Your mind is your most important survival tool. Stay busy. Keep a routine. Track the hours, mark the days, ration your supplies. Talk to others if you can. The survivors of Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Chernobyl, and Fukushima all say the same thing. Hope is as important as shelter. Despair kills faster than radiation. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of fallout patterns, because this is where the science gets real and the mistakes get deadly. Fallout doesn't spread in a perfect circle. It follows the wind, creating a long, narrow plume downwind from the blast. If you're upwind, you might be relatively safe. Downwind, you could be in the hot zone even miles from ground zero. This is why understanding local wind patterns, geography, and shelter locations is critical. If you live near a likely target, military bases, major cities, infrastructure hubs, know which way the prevailing winds blow. Have a plan for where to shelter and how to get there fast. Don't assume distance alone will save you. Fallout can travel hundreds of miles, but the most dangerous concentrations are usually within 20 to 30 miles downwind of the blast. This is based on both historical data and modern fallout modeling. Let's talk about dosimeters and Geiger counters, because every prepper loves their gadgets. Here's the truth. Most consumer-grade radiation detectors are nearly useless in a real nuclear event. They're not calibrated for the high doses you'll see in the first hours after a blast, and they can easily be overwhelmed or give false readings. Professional-grade dosimeters are better, but they're expensive and require training. The best tool you have is knowledge. Know the 7-10 rule, understand sheltering, and don't rely on gadgets to tell you when it's safe. If you do have a dosimeter, Use it to track cumulative exposure, not to decide when to leave shelter. Remember, the goal is to minimize your total dose, not to chase zero. Now, let's address the idea of bugging out. It's a romantic notion. Grab your bag, hit the road, escape the chaos. But in a nuclear event, the roads will be clogged. The air will be thick with fallout, and every minute you spend outside is a gamble with your life. The best plan is to shelter in place, at least for the first 48 hours. If you must move, wait as long as possible. Plan your route to avoid known fallout plumes and travel only when necessary. This isn't the time for heroics. It's the time for patience, discipline, and cold, hard logic. Let's talk about children, the elderly, and pets. They're more vulnerable to radiation, and they need extra care. Keep them in the most protected part of your shelter, limit their exposure to outside air, and make sure they're hydrated and calm.
Pets can bring in fallout on their fur, so keep them inside, wipe them down if they go out, and don't let them sleep in your bed until they're clean. This section is based on practical field survival experience rather than formal academic sources. Now, let's get real about medical care. In a nuclear event, hospitals will be overwhelmed, supplies will be scarce, and help may not come for days or weeks. You need to be your own medic. Stockpile basic first aid supplies, bandages, antiseptics, painkillers, anti-nausea meds. Learn how to treat burns, wounds, and dehydration. Radiation sickness is brutal. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, hair loss, bleeding. There's no magic cure, but supportive care, fluids, rest, infection control can make the difference. If you or someone you love starts showing symptoms, keep them hydrated, keep wounds clean, and hope for the best. This is the harsh reality, but it's better than false hope. Let's talk about communication. In a nuclear event, the grid will likely go down. Cell towers may be fried by EMP, power lines knocked out, the internet a distant memory. Have a battery-powered or hand-crank radio and know the emergency frequencies. Information is life. The authorities will broadcast updates, evacuation orders, and all clear signals. Don't trust rumors or social media. Listen to official sources and be ready to adapt your plan as the situation changes. Now, let's address the myth of the all clear. Just because the sirens stop or the news says it's safe doesn't mean the danger is over. Fallout can linger in low-lying areas, collect in rain gutters, and hide in dust. When you finally leave shelter, move carefully. Avoid touching surfaces, wear gloves and masks if you have them, and wash up as soon as possible. Don't let your guard down just because the immediate crisis has passed. Let's talk about long-term survival, because this is where the real challenge begins. The world after a nuclear event will be changed, maybe for weeks, maybe for years. Food supplies will be disrupted, water may be scarce, and the social fabric will be frayed. But humans are resilient. We've survived worse. The key is adaptability. Grow your own food if you can, purify water, build community with other survivors. Don't let fear paralyze you. The world will recover, and so will you. Now, let's get into the science of decontamination, because this is one of the most misunderstood aspects of fallout survival. Radiation itself can't be washed off, but fallout particles can. The sooner you remove them from your skin, hair, and clothing, the lower your dose. Strip off your outer clothes as soon as you come inside, seal them in a bag, and wash your body thoroughly. Pay special attention to hair, nails, and creases in the skin. Use soap and water if you have it. If not, wet wipes or even a damp cloth will help. Don't use conditioner. It can bind radioactive particles to your hair. This isn't just a hygiene tip, it's a life-saving protocol. Let's talk about myths around iodine tablets. Yes, potassium iodide can protect your thyroid from radioactive iodine-131. But it's not a magic shield. It only works if taken before or immediately after exposure, and it only protects one organ. It won't help against other isotopes, and it won't stop external radiation. Don't waste your supply or risk side effects by taking it at the wrong time. Use it only if advised by authorities or if you know for certain you're at risk of iodine-131 exposure. Now, let's address the idea of safe zones. In the movies, there's always a magical place where the radiation can't reach, where the grass is green and the air is pure. In reality, there are safer areas, upwind, far from targets, with natural barriers like hills or forests, but nowhere is truly safe in the first days after a blast. The key is to minimize exposure, maximize shielding, and wait for the danger to pass. Don't chase fantasies. Work with the reality you have. Let's talk about the long-term health risks, because this is where the fear really sets in. Yes, radiation increases your risk of cancer, especially leukemia and thyroid cancer. But the risk is proportional to your dose. Survive the initial exposure, minimize your cumulative dose, and your odds of living a long life are still good. Don't let fear of the unknown paralyze you. Focus on what you can control: shelter, decontamination, hydration, nutrition, and hope. Now, let's get into the psychology of survival, because this is the part that separates the living from the dead. In a nuclear event, the world will feel hostile, alien, and terrifying. The rules you grew up with, trust the authorities, help will come, the system will protect you, may not apply. You need to be your own authority, your own medic, your own leader. Stay calm, stay focused, and don't let panic drive your decisions. The survivors of Chernobyl, Fukushima, and Hiroshima all say the same thing. Those who kept their wits, who adapted, who refused to give in to despair, were the ones who made it. Let's talk about community, because no one survives alone. In the aftermath of a nuclear event, trust will be in short supply, but it's essential. Share information, pool resources, look out for the vulnerable. The lone wolf may survive the blast, but it's the pack that survives the aftermath. Build alliances, even if it's just with your neighbors. Humanity is your greatest asset. Now, let's address the final, uncomfortable truth. There are no guarantees. You can do everything right: shelter, decontaminate, ration supplies, and still get unlucky. But the odds are better than you think. Most people outside the immediate blast zone will survive the initial event. Most fallout will lose its lethality within days. The world will recover, and so will you. The key is knowledge, preparation, and the will to endure. So, what do preppers get wrong about nuclear fallout? They underestimate the speed and lethality of the first wave. They overestimate the need to run and underestimate the power of shelter. They focus on gadgets and gear and forget the basics: mass between you and the outside, time in shelter, decontamination, hydration, and hope. They imagine a world of permanent doom, when the real danger is measured in hours and days, not centuries. And they forget that survival is as much about psychology as it is about physics. If you take nothing else from this, remember, when the world goes radioactive, your best weapon isn't a bunker or a bug-out bag. It's knowledge. It's patience. It's the ability to adapt, to endure, and to hope. The science is clear, the history is written, and the truth is out there, if you're willing to see it. Don't let myths and fear dictate your fate. Prepare, yes, but prepare with your eyes open, your mind sharp, and your spirit unbroken. Because in the end, survival isn't about avoiding death. It's about choosing life, even when the world is falling apart. Subscribe for more.